In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the brand new DJI O3 Air Unit. Later on in this video, I'm going to be going over all the details and tech specs of this drone, but to kick things off, I just want to show you one singular shot that I got in French Polynesia when I was there a couple weeks ago that really just shows off how freaking insane this new Air Unit really is. So I'm going to slide on over to my computer. Okay, so I have the clip pulled up now. By the way, all of this footage was shot on the actual Air Unit, so no action camera was mounted on top to get this. Not only does it have really solid video, but it also has super solid stabilization. Recently, I spent a week in French Polynesia, and it was honestly one of the most incredible places I've ever seen. But this was like one of our first days there, and I was just testing out the new unit. So here's the top of my line. Kind of going up into the clouds. The reason I didn't go any higher than this just was because the clouds. As soon as you get into the clouds, you just wouldn't be able to see anything. And I'm coming down, kind of circled down here. I'm gonna fast forward because it is such a freaking long line. And so here we're still going. And honestly, I could probably barely fly from this location all the way up there with the old Air Unit, but we were actually all the way over at these boats. Boom. That boat right there in the middle, that's where I was flying from. So that clip right there is probably the best example of this Air Unit that I have, because at that range, I had no connection issues at all, where I know the first Air Unit definitely would have. If it wasn't for the cloud layer, I probably could have gone much farther just because I wasn't having any lag or anything, and I was able to fly all the way back to the boat, no issues whatsoever. All right, so now we're gonna hop into the nitty gritty and all the details and technical specs of this Air Unit, but I just wanna start the video off by saying this is the best FPV experience I've ever had. DJI had 3 years to work on this thing, and I gotta say, it really paid off. It is a massive, massive leap from the first Air Unit. Like I said, a couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to French Polynesia for a week to test this thing out. So without further ado, let's go to a little island in the middle of the Pacific. So first off, I want to talk about one of the biggest upgrades to this entire system, which is actually the ability to record videos directly from the FPV camera. And also, yes, I am out in the rain right now. I could have filmed this in our Airbnb. It is just way too freaking beautiful not to film out here. So in the past, you've basically had to mount action cameras on top of your FPV drone in order to actually get usable clips from them. But with this Air Unit, that's not the case anymore. This camera shoots 4K 60, 1080, 100, and even includes a decent-alike color profile, so you have a ton of flexibility for color grading in post. Here's a quick example of a clip that I was able to color grade. On top of that, it actually has incredible stabilization and has two different forms. The first one is Rocksteady, which is their internal stabilization software. So if you don't want to deal with any of the stabilization in post, you can just shoot with that and get a pretty stable image. And then if you do want to spend a little bit of time in post stabilizing, you can just turn the internal stabilization off, set the view to wide, and then you can use GyroFlow to make that footage super silky smooth. Next up, I want to talk about the connection and range, which is another massive upgrade. This new Air Unit provides excellent high-definition video transmission from extended distances with low latency. Basically, what that means in normal people talk is you can fly really freaking far away, the quality is really good, and there's no delay when you're controlling. It offers impressive 30 millisecond, 10 kilometer digital video transmission. I was able to fly lines I never would have been able to before without this Air Unit. It's also really solid when it comes to going through objects. So if there's a tree in the way, if you're flying through a house, anything like that, I haven't run into any of the problems I used to have with the first one. A massive reason that I went to French Polynesia was to dive with the whales there, because right now it's kind of the tail end of the migration season. It was a freaking incredible experience. I know this doesn't really have anything to do with this Air Unit, but I really want to show you some underwater shots that I took. I just bought this new underwater housing here, and honestly, shooting underwater is one of my favorite things I've ever tried to learn. Another thing that I love about this drone is its compatibility. You can fly this new Air Unit with the new DJI Goggles 2 and the old V2s. Personally, these goggles are my favorite goggles I've ever used. They are way smaller than the V2s and super easy to travel with. The new ones also offer 10-bit color. If you use the DJI Goggles V2, you can record up to 4K 60 and 2.7K 100. This Air unit is also compatible with the DJI remote controller too. This one is so much freaking better than the old black one that I used to use. I was never on Crossfire, I always just stayed with the DJI remote, and this is like, I can't even begin to explain the upgrade that this is. The old one was literally the controller design for the Phantom 2. It was just this giant bulky thing that honestly, in a life or death situation, you could probably kill someone with, but it was super heavy for traveling. But the new one is super sleek, slim, and again, amazingly easy to travel with. And it's kind of just more like a video game controller, which I really like because I played video games a ton growing up.
That's right, get no scoped! Get no scoped!
Here's my friend Jonah's first reaction when he flew the new Air unit. Jonah, first time flying the new goggles with the new drone?
It's insane. It's like, it feels like I'm watching an edit.
Is it really?
It feels like I'm watching a video, like the video already. Like it's like
the edited video. All right, so now I want to kind of talk about the Air unit itself. As you can see, I kind of deconstructed one of the drones I've been flying to film this. So basically you have three components. You have the antenna, you have the Air unit, and then you have the camera up front. And fortunately, DJI has designed this Air unit to install the exact same way as the first version. It's also roughly the same size, so you can fit it in pretty much any quad that you have the first Air unit in. So on this side of the Air unit, you can see you have an SD card slot, as well as a USB-C to hook it up to your computer. This Air unit actually has 20 gigabytes of internal storage, which is super helpful if you run out of memory cards or you randomly forget one, like I definitely sometimes do. So that's super helpful. Now, over on the other side of this Air unit, you'll see a tiny little button here, and that's actually the link button. So when you're linking up all your components, all you have to do is just press that button and follow the linking sequence. Now, something that's super important when installing this drone is just making sure you have some sort of vibration absorption mechanism so you don't get any vibrations on the camera. And then also that ensures that the internal stabilization functions properly. It's also important for the new Air unit to be well ventilated. This Air unit is actually 40% smaller, but actually uses 40% more energy. So it's super important that you get it somewhat close to the props. They recommend within 10 millimeters of the props, so all that downwash can be utilized. And then I just kind of want to show here real quick all the cords that you'll need to attach. Like I said, it's exactly the same as the first Air unit, so nothing new here. You basically just have a power, ground, RX, TX, second ground, and then an S bus, so you can connect it all up to your flight controller. And this new Air unit actually comes with one antenna, but it actually does 5.8 and 2.4. So if you do want to split it into two different antennas like this drone that I have, you can do that. All right guys, so now I'm gonna get into my final thoughts about this new Air unit and answer the question of whether or not you should buy it. Like I said in the beginning, flying with the O3 is the most fun that I've ever had flying FPV. The new goggles are incredibly immersive, and with the added range and video quality, it's a huge jump from the previous version. The O3 is definitely gonna become the next standard in the FPV world. So if you're someone who's building a new drone, definitely get this. And then if you have quads that have the old Air unit and you do have the time and money to upgrade, I would definitely recommend it as well. The experience is honestly just that much better. What's also nice is it's compatible with the V2 goggles, so you don't need to go out and buy a new pair of goggles. And then if you want to use the DJI radio, you can just buy that separately. I'm slowly converting all my quads to this new system, and like I said, this is definitely going to become the new standard. Anyways guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. It seriously helps me more than you know. And if you want to snag an O3 Air unit, there's a link down below in the description. But that's it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.